everyone, so this video is going to be another journal page process video. So basically these are kind of like research journals about the different like creatures and places and things that I've created in the past, like maybe from my sketchbook or from other illustrations, and I'm going to be making journal pages about them every month, and they just get sent off to my Patreons. So every month the Patreons get a new page in the journal, and this was page 1. It was the Livingstone Garden, and he's one of my favorite things to draw. I just think he's a nice, simple, cute concept. And this time, people voted on what I should do, and it is the Living Animal Islands. So I'm just gonna write Animal Islands. I really need to sharpen this. And I was just doodling, well, I didn't realize I drew on the other page. I was just doodling some stuff, trying to come up with ideas, and I wrote out some things I think can be on the page. I sailed between many of these small islands before realizing they were alive. It seems like most just have a head above the surface, sometimes a paw or a tail. Most of them are grassy with lush vegetation, but there are a few that seem to have unique climates. Some are cold and some are quite rocky with little to no life. It is common for them to have 2 to 3 heads per island. I'm not sure why this is the case. They don't seem to mind my presence, and they even sleep at night. Unless, of course, they're nocturnal animals, then they would be awake at night. So basically these are based off an illustration I did digitally. And basically I had some kitty islands and some dog islands in the background, and I think this time I'm going to do cat, dog, and some goat islands, and the goat islands will be rocky and maybe even cold with some snow, but the cats and the dogs will be grassy with flowers and trees and stuff like that. So the thing I need to work on now is the composition. I want to use this as a reference. This is actually a print, by the way, on matte photo paper, and it looks like an original because it's matte, and that's what I want. Okay, so it's going to be 4x6 this time, unless I decide that's too small, but I'm thinking of making everything 4x6 from now on. Usually I do 5x7. Okay, so I think I could have Animal Islands here. Just scribble down something that looks like that. Animal Island with the little borders. Maybe smaller, actually. I think the goats could be down here with the rocky antlers. I could realistically fill a huge page of information, but I need to somehow condense it to 1 page. So there's one option, and I'm leaving spaces to put writing, which would be like here, here, probably here, and maybe a little bit here. So I might make some of that smaller. Let's do another one. I want it to have a spontaneous look to it. Like the person just kind of sat down and just started drawing stuff out as they were observing it. So that's why I want it to be like active and have a nice flow. So that will be like a zoomed out view. This one will be the rocky one. Maybe I'll actually move that down so that text can go here and they'll go there. I think I'm gonna go with that one. So I'm going to sketch it out now. I'm gonna pull up some references as I do it to make sure I do it accurately. And I also should probably pull up my old photo. It's gonna be useful to have a ruler to kind of section off this. I'm using a terracotta color erase. It's one of my favorite things to sketch with. I would recommend it highly for natural looking things. I don't want the title to be too big because then it might take away, like it's just going to take space away from the illustrations. But try to make sure you still put your style into it, because sometimes looking at references can kind of hide your style because you're sort of basing it off of a photo, so it'll tend to lean towards the photo and not really look like you. So there's going to be some text here. So I sailed. I still don't like the paw there. I'm just not going to have the paw. I'm just going to go over the lines so I don't lose any of them when it comes to doing watercolor. And then the writing is kind of here, here, and here. And that's the title up there. I think it would make more sense to not do the writing traditionally and to just do it digitally. I think that would make the most sense. Also, my handwriting is not good. So I'm just going to focus on coloring it, and I'll do the writing digitally and show you what that looks like after I do everything. But first, let's color. Time to start watercoloring, and I'm going to try out this brush that someone sent me. It was so cool to get a package from someone. It just feels like a really nice brush. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with the cat islands because they are, I think, more my comfort zone sort of palette. So I colored in the kitty island, and I just want to add some darker shadows. This paintbrush feels really nice to hold. I'm using the Arches hot press paper, by the way. I always use it for illustrations because it's smooth and it's really nice for watercolor. And it's good for mixed media because of how smooth it is, but it's not too smooth. I have sap green now, which makes things so much easier to mix the greens that I want. So this dog island is also going to be green. Trying to add some brown into it though, to show like the earth color, like soil and stuff. And the cat is more of a forest. So the mountains are going to be, or the rocks are going to be kind of a cooler brown. I like this gradient I was able to get there. I just don't know how dark I want to go with the colors. I definitely want them to be cooled off a bit. Just trying to add a little more contrast here and define some of the rocks so it's clear that they're rocks. Trying to paint in the rocks. And I'm gonna do the wintry scene down here. I might have to move some of these around and like shift them to make the composition a bit more unified feeling. trying to make the background look a bit more natural. Warming this up a little bit with some brownish color. I want to add some green to the trees up here. I wish this one wasn't so cut off. Need some water texture, so I had to dry that first to get the wet on dry. Just loving the way this blue is overlaying over some of these. Trying to incorporate it up into some of the islands. I'm actually really liking the way this is turning out, and on my old one, I actually used pen and ink to outline it, but I don't think I want to do that this time. I'm still kind of figuring out my process for each one, but I think this one needs pencil, not pen, because I think it's almost working. It just needs some darker lines to bring everything out, and then I'll add the text digitally. So I have this dark green pencil, which I'll use for the details. I like using this nice soft dark brown, but because it's soft you have to sharpen it a lot, but it really helps to add some dark lines without kind of changing the texture of it, because I find when you add ink on top of this kind of style, it kind of flattens it and you lose a lot of the life that you had. At least I do, because I'm not that good with ink, and I tend to stiffen up when I use it. That's just me, so that's why I like to use pencil, because it glides a bit slower, so it's easier to control the lines. And since this dog is behind it, I'm going to use a not as dark color. Then I'm going to outline these little decorative plants. So this needs some now. Gotta sharpen it again. I would use an X-Acto knife, but I don't have it with me at the moment. And I also don't feel like having erasers, sharpener shavings all over my desk. Adding tiny little cracks with a lighter color because I don't want to distract from the main forms of this by using a really dark color to add all these subtle details. So like I said at the beginning, if you want to get this journal page, make sure you pledge to my Patreon, the Greyhound tier, before August. So by the end of July, you'll get this along with a print and 2 stickers. I think I need to not be so heavy-handed with this, go a bit lighter. So the paws of this cat are kind of like in and out of the water, which I think is interesting. And I'm also going to do the font with this pencil. I leave the font handwritten, but then I change the body text to an actual font because I don't trust myself to do that. I can't do cursive, and I don't want it to be in cursive, and also my handwriting just kind of looks like a child did it sometimes. Some people say it looks nice, and I don't understand why. Like, I honestly think it's just unappealing in many, many ways. I'm gonna put little decorations on the page. I might add some more lines and stuff digitally, and I'm gonna add the text digitally, and I'll show you that here. So if you want to get this, make sure you pledge to my Patreon before the end of July. I'll be doing a page every month of just different things I've drawn. I really like the way this brown turned out for some reason. So I had a lot of fun with this. I'm quite happy with how this page turned out. I like it better than my other one. It still has a similar feeling to it, but I think it's like cooler. Kind of goes with that sort of like ocean island theme. I didn't want to do like 1, 2, 3, 4 all like the same thing, but I think it did work for the composition. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in my next video.